Good evening, everybody. We are live. Welcome to the show, Collecting Profit. Let me get the banner going. What a knucklehead. Boom. Come back every Wednesday. We'll be here either on my channel or Anthony's channel. Our information, our YouTube channels and our IGs information is down in the description. I'm going to add our eBay stores to that. So this way, if because we talk cards and we list cards. So if you see any, you hear us talking about them, you can go check us out. You can look at them on eBay, and if you want, come on back.
Yep.
Tell us here. We make a little. Maybe you get a little better deal because we won't pay eBay fees.
Absolutely.
So hey, before we get started, my man Anthony.
Yeah. So guys, my name is Anthony. My channel is called Picksburgh. I do a lot of YouTube videos of card content, either ripping or cards that I've sold on eBay and stuff like that as well. So a little bit of everything. I might be out and about at like Universal Studios or Disneyland or something like that, and I'll share those vlogs as well. So it's more than just like card content or eBay content. I also share like a little bit of my life, and like the things I enjoy as well from time to time. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting, come over and subscribe to my channel, especially if you want to see next week's episode, because we got a banger coming for you guys. I don't want to spoil any of it just yet, but there might be a giveaway coming next week. So
very cool. Very cool.
I want to stick around for that.
Yeah. So welcome to everyone on Huddle Card channel, and welcome to everyone on Thrifting Goomba channel, and welcome to everyone on joining us on Twitch. I don't really go on Twitch much, but hey, what the hell?
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah. So hey, so tonight's topic: vintage versus modern. And the reason why I brought this up was I've been seeing it being spoken about, right? I've been seeing, hey, John, how are you, sir? Hope all is well. John has some cool stuff going on in his channel, folks. Go ahead and, go check him out. But I've been seeing a lot of talk about the whole vintage versus is modern. And, as someone, like myself, who really started collecting or getting into cards in the, late 70s, early 80s, then got out of it for a little while and then came back in the 90s and then went away again and came back. So, I'm part of that. Well, what is vintage? I mean, those cards are considered vintage. They're 50 years old, or close to 50 years old. They're 40 to 50 years old. Now, a lot of people who go, well, no. Vintage is 1952 Mickey Mantle. No, that's damn near antique, to be honest with you. I think we're moving beyond that. But it's the idea of that type of stuff. And I think, to me, when people, talk vintage versus modern, in my opinion, I think what a lot of it, when they start to really get into it, is talking more about, in my opinion, the number of cards that were available for a player then versus the number of cards that are available for a player now.
Like in regards to, like, say, the Trevor Lawrence market with like 1,000,001 rookies versus, like, say, back in the day, with
Joe Montana.
Yeah. You just had the Topps rookie pretty much. Yeah.
Hey, Gary, how you doing?
What is up, my friend?
How you doing? Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, she's big giveaway, Diamond Princess. She does good stuff over there. So I think that's what people look at, and one of the things that was spoken about was what's going to happen to vintage when these modern cards get older. Will vintage be forgotten? Because to me, it's amazing that Joe Montana, right,
Mhm.
4-0 in Super Bowls, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game, and then take, you know, Justin Herbert, take Trevor Lawrence, right? Who in
Mhm.
reality, babies in professional football have accomplished absolutely nothing, but that the value of their cards versus the value of a Joe Montana.
Yeah, it's insane.
What do you think about that type of stuff?
Okay, so personally, my opinion with that is I've heard both sides of the fence. I think long term, vintage wins out as far as being a safer bet than like the ultra modern stuff. I think, for example, like use like Honus Wagner because that's like a turn of the century tobacco card. You know what I mean? That's about as vintage as you can get. A card like that's always going to be popular, regardless of if you've ever seen Honus Wagner play. Like I'm from Pittsburgh and I've never seen Honus Wagner play. You know what I mean? So, um, but I've always known of that card because that was always considered up until, recent history, the most expensive card, in sports cards.
Yep.
Growing up as a kid, every Beckett magazine or Tough Stuff, they'd always have the article of the Honus Wagner, which I knew more about Honus Wagner, from like that type of stuff than I actually did from being a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. Because if anything, like being born in the 80s, like I came up being, told of the 70s Pirates, you know what I mean? The All in the Family with Dave Parker, Willie Stargell, Roberto Clemente. Like that was like my early memory of Pirates baseball. And then from there, it was like obviously the Barry Bonds, Bonilla, Van Slyke era.
Yep.
But even though like I was never exposed to like a Honus Wagner, that doesn't mean necessarily like I wouldn't want that card or whatnot. And I think that it's either way, like those type of cards hold like their weight long term, whether it's like Wagner or like a Ty Cobb or Babe Ruth or even like a Mantle. But I think what's going to happen is you're going to have modern day players, whether it's, a guy like Mike Trout or Aaron Judge or, like any of those type of players that might slide up eventually into that echelon, you know what I mean? Whereas like right now you talked about Herbert and Burrow versus Montana. I mean, you'd be dumb almost not to stack Montanas for the price of a Herbert or a Burrow right now, just because Montana's the sure thing. You know what I mean? Whereas Herbert and Burrow, you know what I mean? Like they very well could end up being Tony Romo, which like no offense to Tony Romo, is a phenomenal quarterback. Like he could be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but you know what I mean? He's no Joe Montana. You know what I mean? So it's really risky when you're dealing with these ultra modern cards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's super easy to bet on a guy thinking he's going to be the next big thing, and then one injury or one stupid decision, because it doesn't even have to be a career-ending injury. Like look at it, Antonio Brown. Like how much do you think his mental health has affected his card prices?
Oh, a
You know what I
ton.
mean? Like he's like not even on an NFL team because he's such a wacko.
Yeah.
But I mean, like this guy is literally one of the best wide receivers that's ever touched a football.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like stuff like that, like there's all kinds of like factors that can kind of go into it, especially with the guys that are still active, still playing. You know what I mean? That might seem like a sure bet. You know what I mean? Like, um, it's always safer to go with something that's like more established, more accomplished, more like kind of set in stone. But then again, you don't have those big influxes like you will with the ultra modern stuff, because you might be somebody that's picking up rookie quarterbacks and you might have Patrick Mahomes the rookie year before he starts, when Alex Smith was still a starter. And then boom, next thing you know, you're getting those huge returns on your investment. So when he gets out of MVP and then he wins his first Super Bowl in X, Y, and Z. So there are both sides of that fence, but I think it's a lot safer from somebody who's invested heavily in ultra modern cards. Isaac Okoro mainly. It's a lot safer putting my money now into LeBron James cards, because one day, while I'm going to have a really sick Isaac Okoro collection, it's probably going to be worth like close to what my Anthony Bennett collection's worth. Whereas my LeBron James stuff's going to continue to go up in value year after year. So I just think if you're looking at this more from a collecting side, buy whatever you want whenever you want. You know what I mean? Because you can collect anything that pleases you. But if you're looking at this from a making money, dollars and cents investment side, you definitely want to go for the things that are more proven and more established, as opposed to things that are very risky, like some of these new players. Because like I said, one freak injury and boom, there you go. You just lost all of your investment. You know what I mean? I think of guys like Luka Doncic, Zion Williamson, young hyped players that their rookie cards aren't cheap. You know what I mean? You're buying into them for oftentimes like the price of like one of these legendary players' rookie cards. You know what I mean? And with the understanding that that's their potential to be a legendary player of their generation. You know what I mean? Then oftentimes players like that do achieve that, but then oftentimes there's also the Derrick Rose effect where that player gets some kind of an injury or something takes them from being like the super elite of that generation to not being super elite.
Well, and you look at it, Zion is trending that way. Right? I mean, there's a guy who was supposed to be a guy who could do everything. I mean, freak athlete for a guy his size doing what he was doing. I mean, but look what has happened. He's hurt again. And there's a guy that a lot of people, went ahead and, bought. And, the way I look at it, and I kind of even would tell people, and you look at and baseball, baseball was really never there before, but you're starting to see it more now, where these kids who are just drafted and playing in their first flipping professional league sports, and people are pulling their one of one super refractor or so on, and it's like, oh, that's a $50,000 card, and and I mean, to me, if I were fortunate to open up a box of Bowman and hold on a second. Hey, Dom is here. Hey, Dom, how you doing? Best retired American football player, Sean Landetta or Carl Banks. Well, yeah, I mean, you might be right there, Dom. I'm not going to argue with it, brother. I mean, a punter and a middle linebacker, not bad.
So
Matty Ice is another Chicago guy. Chicago
you want to know?
He's a Colts fan.
You want to know something funny about your Zion analogy and people potentially losing money on him? So right during the pandemic, I'm like, you know what? The PlayStation 5 scheduled to come out in like 6 months or however long it was before the PlayStation 5 was out. I had a PlayStation 4 and I'm like, you know what's going to happen? The PlayStation 5 is going to come out and the PlayStation 4 is going to like plummet in value. So I sold my PlayStation 4, got $180, and I bought a Zion Williamson Prism-based rookie card. I was like, I feel like this will be a safer bet because a couple years from now, the Zion will probably be worth more than the PlayStation 4.
Definitely.
So when you started bringing up Zion, I looked up that PlayStation 4 that I sold, and it's still selling for about $180, give or take, like $179. So I'm a little over $180. So literally, if I'd have kept that PlayStation 4, I'd still be sitting on $180. I'm pretty sure I ended up selling that Zion for like sub $50 because like the market like crapped on itself.
Yeah.
So like if you look at it, like that console, which is now a generation in the past, is worth more, held more value than Prism base Zion Williamson did.
Yeah, and I think I think when it comes to that type of stuff and you're looking at those things, I mean, honestly, I know it might be difficult and people might go, oh, there's no way I could do X, Y, and Z. How can I sell that card if I know it might go up and everything? To me, if you're fortunate enough to hit one of those, big cards, right? Not this. Look, I'm not going to open up Flawless, Immaculate, or any of that type of crap. So I'm not getting the one-of-one Zion autograph with the diamond in it. I'm not. But if I open up a box of Bowman, Chrome Mega, and there's an autograph from Jackson Cheerio, it pays for me to consider going ahead and selling it because it's not a PC guy.
Yeah.
So why not maximize my value now?
Mhm.
So to me, that's I think when you're looking at it from that standpoint of is that it's tempting to hold on
Mhm.
to a card, but to me, if it's a rookie, and it's not one of those ones that you are like, man, this is my PC, this will never leave. This is going to be in my stack of cards that gets
Mhm.
buried with me when they put me in the ground. To me, sell it while you can, and then use the money to get the stuff that you want to collect.
Yep.
Like that guy who, when Vortex pulled that Herbert, what is it, the Black Infinite one of
Yeah.
one, you know, that guy turned around and he sold it quick,
Mhm.
and he got good money for it. Now, I don't know what the value of it is now, but hey, man, you strike while the iron is hot. Remember that kid who pulled the Mac Jones
Yeah.
and sold it for $100,000 cash to that guy, and the guy gave him the cash, and the kid showed the picture of it like that?
Mhm.
I guarantee you that card's probably not worth you couldn't probably sell that
No.
card for 100 grand right now.
You'll probably never sell that card for 100 grand again. Like, God bless Mac Jones. Hopefully he has a wonderful career, but I bet you that card's never going to be that value again.
And that's why I wonder how things are going to change now, because look, the trend is going to be, you go after that. So, we have the NFL draft that's going to come up, in a couple of months from now, a few months from now, right? And if Bryce Young goes number 1, which he probably will, right? Everybody's going to want his cards and everything and stuff like that. So I think, so the prices are already going to start to inflate
Oh, yeah.
even before anything. So I think for someone who wants to, be an investor, let's say, and say, well, wow, I would get one and I would hold it long term and so on and so forth. It's going to be harder to get in at a decent price
Yeah.
on all of, on these top picks. You really need, you need to find you need to find the next Tom Brady, the
Yeah.
guy who gets drafted in the 6th round. Maybe Brock Purdy's that guy, but already his cards.
Yeah. His are actually more than Pickett right now.
Yeah,
It's
I think
insane.
I
Like,
think
Pickett's
somebody
the first
sold one.
quarterback taken, and
Yeah,
Purdy's worth more.
yeah,
It's wild. I mean,
yeah,
that's the football market, though. It swings at like the drop of a dime. Like, and,
yeah.
and the crazy thing is, Trey Lance is coming back next year.
Hmm.
People are paying outrageous prices for Purdy one of ones and crazy stuff like that. What happens if Trey Lance comes back and he's every bit as good as they thought he was?
Right.
Purdy doesn't even play in that case.
Nope.
He's basically early career Garoppolo sitting behind a Brady. Not
Yeah.
saying that Lance is like a Brady, but I mean, he would definitely not be starting over the guy that they drafted. What was he, third overall his rookie year, right behind, because he got drafted right after your boy,
Yes.
um, Zach
Zach
Wilson.
Wilson.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he was the third overall pick. They have a lot invested in him. I would imagine they're going to give him every chance to play. Granted, Purdy's kicking butt right now. So I mean, I hope the guy does well. I mean, you always want to see Mr. Irrelevant turn into a stud. They
And,
normally don't get a chance.
yeah.
You know,
And in today's NFL, the truth of the matter is it's easier to move on from a young quarterback than it used to be.
yeah. I mean, especially with so many people not able to get them. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Or if they do, they're not able to develop them. So
Yeah.
if you're able to, say, hey, I have a Trey Lance, that may get you a whole lot more than, hey, I'm going to trade you Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, who came in and just crushed it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you could end up getting more than you've invested into Trey Lance on the open market, especially with his potential.
Right. Well, you don't have the money invested also.
What's up,
Hey,
Zach?
Zach. Welcome, sir. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. But you think about it from like that's what they're talking about Chicago. Should Chicago potentially trade Justin Fields, who would be going into his 3rd year,
Mhm.
and pick Bryce Young and start if you think they're equal, right? The
Mhm.
thought process is I trade I trade Justin Fields.
Mhm.
I get a decent haul for it, and I get Bryce Young. And what does that do? It starts the clock over on the quarterback.
Yeah, and the price that you're paying for the
Right,
quarterback as
because the
well.
way you have to pay. I mean, like Burrow and Herbert are going to be coming up for contracts.
Mhm.
If you're San Diego and you're, Cincinnati, it's going to cost you a pretty penny to hold on to them.
Yeah.
Unless they are the new breed of Tom Brady, that's more like, hey, I rather get a good contract rather than one of these stupid expensive ones, but you won't have to tear the team apart and we'll be able to win.
Yeah.
Unless they're those types of guys. But
You know what?
everybody's talking about Lamar.
I really think that Burrow could be one of those guys. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like one of them pillar quarterbacks. He might be like one of the top. So let's see. His generation, I would have to say, probably starts like with like the Mahomes, Josh Allen. Maybe he's like the tail end of that generation.
Yep.
So yeah, I would say he's probably going to be like maybe a top four. In my opinion, he'll be like a top four quarterback of that generation.
Yeah. Most definitely.
But
Most
I'm a
definitely.
huge Burrow fan, which pains me to say since I'm also a huge Steelers fan. Like I really wish that this guy would leave my damn division.
Yeah.
He's gonna like literally dominate it for a decade plus if we don't get rid of him.
Yeah. And you look at Lamar Jackson.
Another guy needs
Right.
to leave my division.
I mean, but there's another guy who, is going to get who wants a humongous chunk of change.
Yeah.
What does that do? People are like, oh, well, they'll franchise them and then they can sign them, and like the NBA's, sign and trade and everything. Well, that's great. And people talk about, the Jets, because the Jets can fit him in because they have, our skill players are all, first year, second year guys. So they won't be due for contracts for another few years.
I'm gonna make a hot take.
Uh-oh.
I don't think Lamar Jackson will ever be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. The reason I say that is because the way he plays the game. Unless he wins like within the next like 3 to 4 years where he's still like in prime condition, that dude takes a beating. You know what I mean? And he's not like particularly elite like in the pocket either. So I think like once he starts to lose that evasiveness, that dude is gonna like hit a cliff.
And they say that is the first thing that goes.
Mm-hmm.
You wind up losing a step. Now, I mean, he's 26. He's 26 years old.
A big part of that has to also do with Joe Burrow being in the division, because that also is going to limit like Kenny Pickett's like Super Bowl aspirations as well. Because honestly, like I think Joe Burrow might have it in him to like literally be a perennial like division winning quarterback, especially if they get him like any more weapons and some more protection.
Yeah. Well, and you hate to say, I mean, Deshaun Watson ain't that bad either.
Unfortunately,
from that standpoint. But you're right. I mean, with the way Lamar plays, him being 26, it really is one of those things where right now, depending on, like if he comes back next year and you have his cards and he all of a sudden is performing unbelievably and you're thinking, and I think if you're waiting for that time when you think I might be a good idea for me to, list some of these and sell some of them, he comes back next year and halfway through the season, he's like looking like regular old Lamar.
mm-hmm.
I would consider selling, because to your point, his style, he's one hit away.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not even a hit away.
That's what makes Tua
he's
such
a roll up away, right? A pile, all of a sudden, bam, somebody rolls up on his ankle.
Yeah.
So
That's what makes Tua such a like difficult person to like put a lot of money into. Is like he's an awesome player. He has a lot of heart, but I mean, he's already had how many concussions? You know what I mean? Like, so like a lot of these things are, Like it's just like, can this guy's body hold up more than anything? And then if it doesn't, like, imagine he starts to get hobbled. Like, look at Big Ben, like towards his last few years. It wasn't that he wasn't as good of a quarterback. Like, literally, he was in chronic pain, like trying to like even do certain motions. Like he would literally have to throw some passes like sidearmed because his like elbow hurt so bad from like the surgery and stuff that he had. So just tangible things like that, like health, and like once a player starts to wear down, like, it will affect their, the way that they can perform on the field. What's up, Molly?
You know Molly?
No, I'm just what's up.
Hello. What the heck? I don't know. Dommy, we'll have to watch that one. You're a mod, Dommy. Keep an eye on it. I have no idea if Molly's a real user.
I don't know.
I don't know. Put your private investigator hat on there, Dommy.
Sater, Molly, you real?
Oh boy.
I got to be honest. I agree with you. I'm right there with you.
Oh man. No, but I think you look at Jalen Hurts, right?
Yeah.
Look at what he was doing all year long. Mm-hmm. Gets tackled by a friggin' 400-pound defensive lineman. Bang.
Yep.
Shoulder injury, and then who knows what happens. Mm-hmm. So that's what's tough. I mean, it's funny. They talk about Brady and Matt Ryan and Garoppolo, and some of these guys that supposedly can't move around anymore. But the truth of the matter is that at least you as a franchise, you can protect those guys, right? Because you can figure, okay, I got to put money into my offensive line.
Yeah.
So think about, right? You invest there, you keep your other investment, healthy and everything. Whereas you get a guy like Lamar, like this new NFL where quarterbacks are runners and everything like that, it's hard to protect them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for us as collectors or investors who want to take, their stack of Jalen Hurts cards and, list them and put them on eBay. Now it's like, well, crap, man. My investment that I made is going the wrong way.
Yeah, absolutely. Another I guess I can't really say it's a hot take. So I guess anybody who's really done this has really lost. But the only cards I would really say that I've really lost a substantial amount on, like as far as like, hey, I'm going to buy this card because I think it's an investment. They've all been like semi ultra modern type cards. You know what I mean? Like I would say the oldest one I lost money on was like the KD rookie card, but I literally bought it right when Gary Vee posted the picture. I'm like, oh man, if Gary Vee's invested in that, I'm gonna invest in that sucker. And that lost like $220 some in value already, and I cried like a little girl. But really it's the ultra modern stuff that's really lost like the big value, whereas like vintage is like stayed steady or like pretty much some of it has like really gained over the years, especially high graded vintage, because it's so difficult to find in decent condition. So if you have like a decently conditioned older card, like that substantially makes the value of it like that much better than even an ultra modern card. Plus the scarcity of it, you know what I mean? Like it could take that card that could have been like printed to the high heavens and make it like a pop, whatever, like something super low just because of the condition. So to your point, like I just really think that vintage is here's something that was always told to me by an old show promoter in Pittsburgh. He basically says ultra modern or like modern cards, because he's a real big vintage collector. So I would always ask him like, dude, why are you like so big into this vintage stuff? Like he has more Clemenes than like anybody I've ever seen in my life. But he basically says the modern cards, that's for flipping. The older cards, that's where you're gonna get your long-term value. So essentially what he does is he'll pick up all of like the new guys, he'll rip his packs, he'll get the, Trevor Lawrence's, all of these new guys, and he'll take them, he'll grade them, he'll flip them, and then he'll take his money and he'll put them into like the safe bets, like the Clemenes or whoever that he really likes.
Yeah.
So that way, like over time, like he's literally just seen his like money grow and grow and grow because he's basically taken into something that's safe. Now it's not going to grow fast, like we saw during the pandemic, where if Tyler Hero goes off in the bubble for 30 points, like all of a sudden his card's like worth the same amount as like a LeBron rookie. You know what I mean? We're not going to see stuff like that, but you know what I mean? You're not going to see the Clemente market tank ever. You know what I mean? Like it's just not going to happen.
Right. And I think
always, even if like say people in Pittsburgh stop watching baseball, the Pirates stop being a thing, there's still going to be people in the Dominican Republic that like their family survived because he flew food there and like took care of them. You know what I mean? So like stuff like that's never going to go bad. You know what I mean? So if you invest in like the right players or, the right situation, it could be, if you're a Pokemon person, it could be Charizard. Now, granted, Charizard's fallen out too recently, but the really old vintage stuff is typically reasonably safe compared to a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Molly is right. The big names are the big names and everything. Here's the other point to it. So I don't know if this guy's ever going to be anything, right? This is Donta Smith, right? The Slim Reaper, plays for the Eagles. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 cards. Every one of these has the RC as a rookie card. Now, this doesn't there's no prism in here. There's no select. There's one pink. There's no, gold to 5 or to 10s or nothing like this. So then think about all those also, right? So it potentially, when you think about it, let's say he becomes unbelievable, oh my gosh, wide receiver.
Yeah.
There's so much available. So I think the problem you're going to have as these modern players become vintage players, I don't think necessarily the value is going to be I think the value is going to be there on, the specialty cards, because that's just the way the investors and the collectors are going, that they're willing to pay for that type of stuff. But the normal card, so there was no, there maybe was a Topps Chrome, I don't know, of let's say Jerry Rice. I'm not trying to compare Donta Smith to Jerry Rice, but what I'm saying though is that there's a guy right there who, unless he is an insert in anything, right, that's the only way you're getting a shiny card of his. You're not getting a shiny card of not pulling that rookie card and getting a refractor or a 1-of-1 Jerry Rice.
It's interesting that you even bring up Jerry Rice and Devontae Smith in the same breath, because as you're talking about Devontae Smith, I'm thinking, man, like, in my opinion, I don't even think he's going to be the top receiver in his generation, because you figure you got Justin Jefferson right now, who's just a killer. You got Jamar Chase from the Bengals. He's a freaking killer. Like, there's so many like high-end receivers right now. Nothing against Devontae Smith, but I mean, would you say that, like, compared to like say Jerry Rice's potential, like with like a Justin Jefferson or like a Jamar Chase, maybe he might be more adjacent to like a Tim Brown of his time?
Yes.
So I'm just looking at a Tim Brown PSA 10 rookie card, and would you guess that it's literally just over $100? for a PSA 10 copy. Now, if we're looking at a Jerry Rice, it's going to be like substantially more.
Yeah.
So if you put it into those like terms, like right now, investing in like say a Devontae Smith, even if you have like say his best card, it literally is probably only going to be like worth a fraction of like say a Justin Jefferson or whoever ends up being that top receiver of like this decade.
Yep. Yeah, and as Love Selling Cars says, and welcome, thank you for popping in, appreciate it. Print runs are so high on Ultraman. That's true on the commons. That's why I think what you're talking. That's why I think from a value standpoint, you're only gonna your audience. I don't know how many. Let's use Justin Jefferson and just say Jerry Rice, just because of those two players, right? I don't know how many Jerry Rice cards are out there. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know, right? And rookie cards. I don't know what the print run was. When you look at the print run of Justin Jefferson, you probably need to be in the numbered cards to be equal to Jerry Rice. Forget the commons, right? Because don't forget, if they have to 499, if they have to 250, if they have to 99, to 75, to 45, to 5, that's a lot of cards.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and that's where the investment's going to have to be. And a lot of people, because of the way the hobby is going, and now to be able to rip that yourself, that's going to be less because that goes more in higher end stuff. At least we get our hands on football cards. Yeah, I mean, you can find them around. Not easy, but you can find them.
I was gonna say, man, if you ever can't find them, let me know. If I ever come across extra boxes, I'd be willing to send you one.
There you go. Yeah, and I think that's what's going to happen. So I think that's where the shift that is going to take place as the modern player starts to retire and moves down the road, and we get further away from this era right now. And if everything goes the right way, there'll be another batch that come up, all the time, and so on and so forth. And I think I forgot, I might have been Sports Card Dad. I did send you a bunch of stuff.
Nice.
And one of the things that Sports Card Dad said was LeBron James, Tom Brady, right? Two guys considered, top one or two of their sport. They both retire. I mean, Brady may retire this year. LeBron maybe a year or two. Who knows and everything. But who's going to be able to move up into that status as we move on? Like current players today, because don't forget, like those guys are, they're LeBron's 38. Tom is 482, I think, or something along those damn lines.
In my opinion, with Brady, and I could be made to look like a fool with him here in the next coming years, but I basically think like he's basically like talent-wise the GOAT in name right now. Like nothing against him not being the GOAT of all time, but like as far as like modern day, like he's going to go on the field and be like the difference maker that's going to win them a championship. I think he's more at the stage of his career where he's going to be kind of like a contributor to a championship, and he's going to need more help around him to get it done. Now, that being said, he's way more competent than like the Trent Dilfers of the world or like a game managing quarterback. But as far as being like Tom Brady, the GOAT, like I don't think like he is that killer on the field anymore. Personally, like I mean, he's old. Like he's old as hell. Like what quarterback has ever been as good as he is right now, as old as he is right now? Like no one. So what he's doing is incredible, but I just don't think he's still like the same Tom Brady that he was personally. Now that's not going to do anything for his card prices, but if you're expecting him to win like a few more Super Bowls, like he's going to definitely need some help for that to happen. But as far as like carrying the NFL, like I say that to say this. I think right now, really, like most of like the real diehard collectors are really heavy on Mahomes and Josh Allen. I think right now those are going to be kind of like the two guys. If anybody's going to step into like that Tom Brady role, it'll probably be one of those two guys. My guess would be, barring injury, Mahomes probably has a better shot because he already has a few championships under his belt, and God forbid Josh Allen becomes the next Machine Gun Kelly. You know what I mean? Where I could totally see them going very far in the playoffs, for, number of years, like the Bills did with Jim Kelly, local Pennsylvania boy, 4 straight, but they ran into buzzsaws the whole
Right.
time. You know what I mean? Like the AFC's like that as far as quarterbacks go. You know what I mean? I could see them making it like perennial, like AFC championship game type of team. But then you're running into a Joe Burrow, you're running into a Patrick Mahomes, you're running into, any number of like these amazing generational type talents that, the AFC seems to be even more stacked with. Like the NFC's got some players, but as far as like killer quarterbacks that could be like the top quarterback of the generation, there's a lot more of them in the AFC that guys are going to have to fight through. So
Yeah, and
that's
I
the
think
one thing that could be bad for Allen,
yeah.
in my opinion, barring all the weapons he has, because they are a phenomenal team. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're a team that like honestly could win it all this year, but
Yeah.
the fact that they do have to go through all of these other generational quarterbacks to like get even to the Super Bowl is going to make that hard, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think I just wonder from a collecting standpoint, right? How much of the, I guess, obviously the GOAT status does something for the value of your card,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
look at last year Michael Jordan cards, like in
Right.
the Wizards uniform. I
Mm-hmm.
remember back in the day, a buddy of mine picked up a bunch of Wizards cards. I'm like, dude, why wouldn't you just get him in the Bulls? Like, it's so much more iconic to have Jordan in the Bulls. And he's like, dude, do you know how much this card's worth? And I like looked it up. I was like, oh my God, like, you know what I mean? Like his like last year cards are valuable. But it's like, yeah, that's Michael Jordan. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like he's the GOAT regardless of, how old or out of shape he may be. That dude like literally like smoked cigars and like drank liquor every day of his life, even like, in basketball season.
Yeah.
And he still come out and drop 40, 50 on you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point, Molly. One of the things I do, like my biggest like thing I do collecting is I'm a bargain box digger. So and I've always collected cards since I was a kid. So like I'll see big name players, like for example, football. I remember how much people were chasing Fred Taylor in 1998. That was the year with Peyton Manning, um, Randy Moss, and Fred Taylor was like the big running back that year. So like you'd equivalent that to like say Trevor Lawrence and Justin Jefferson was the year before, I believe. Justin Jefferson, like Chase and Najee Davenport, like that big three.
Najee
So
Harris.
Najee Harris, Najee Davenport. Good Lord. That takes me back through the
Oh
annals of
my
Steelers running backs. Good God.
holy smoke. I'm gonna
That's
say
a name from the
Davenport.
past.
Wow.
Yeah, that definitely. But anyway, I say that to say this. If you go through a dollar box right now, you'll see like the high-end Fred Taylor rookie cards that like even if I went to the flea market in 1998, you're paying upwards of $100 for that card. You know what I mean? Like the Topps Chrome refractors or X, Y, or Z. You can find that stuff in bargain boxes now, which is insane. Like numbered rookie cards of Fred Taylor. Certain numbers or certain cards of Randy Moss's rookie are not even that expensive, and he's arguably one of the best wide receivers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing with the 80s and the 90s was it was extremely overproduced, like today is. So, just like you said with the previous comment, I do think a lot of the cards today are going to fall victim, just like the junk wax, but the things we can learn from the junk wax is there are some cards that held value really well. Like for example, one of the most produced cards until actually the Zion Williamson became the most graded basically PSA 10 card because of the mass producedness of it and all the people now grading. It was Ken Griffey Jr.'s 1989 Upper Deck Rookie Stars card. That was the most graded card up until recently. And that's a card that, even though there's so many cards, even in like PSA 10 condition to today, that still holds its value. Now granted, it's, not going to be as valuable as say some other generations where you don't have quite the supply of rookie cards of the player like we do with Griffey. And even with Griffey, there's a Flair rookie card, there's an Upper Deck rookie card, there's a Topps rookie card, there's, all of these unbranded rookie cards, that you look into, because that was really when really a boom happened back in the 90s too, if you think about it. Like almost like kind of what we experienced during the pandemic was really happening in the 90s, where like cards were everywhere. Like when I was a kid, it was like me and Marty were running around like we are today, just like fiending for the stuff. But one of the things I noticed going through a lot of bargain boxes is over the years, how many players that we were chasing that are literally in there, like Gary Payton rookie cards, Sean Kemp rookie cards. You can even to an extent find Kevin Garnett rookie cards in bargain boxes. Like it's insane to me. Like we're talking like one of probably the two best power forwards to ever live, and his rookie cards are in the bargain box.
Yeah.
Up until the pandemic, you could find Tim Duncan rookie cards in the bargain box, Allen Iverson rookie cards in the bargain box. Like it just blows my mind. Like these players that literally are top 15 in their position still aren't really worth a whole lot today. I mean, if you're a collector, like it's phenomenal. You can go and get all the guys you love. But I mean, if you're looking at this from an investment standpoint, you have to be really pinpointed on what you're investing in. And honestly, a lot of this ultra modern stuff for me is all like, it's all about flipping it, because it's worth the most like as soon as it comes out. And then from there, it just starts to tank. Like even if like, say you get a big hit sometimes from a box, and you look at how much it's worth. Like, for example, look at hoops. Like I remember like when the LaMelo hoops came out, like that card went for $30.
You're talking about, as it may not necessarily be a high-end card, but it's the first cards that are available for that player.
Yeah, or even for that,
have to be immaculate or any of those. It's not the higher end brands. It's even the lower end brand. It's just the timing of that's the first one that is available to the public.
Correct. And it could be any set too. It could be, Optic, it could be Prism, because once the set comes out, a lot of people are going to be looking to get that card. So for example, I'm going to use the Mellow Hoops. By the time that you would send that into PSA, and if you get that back in 9, you're basically getting $30 for it. So it literally, like the price of that card, not only raw, but graded, drops so substantially in the couple months it takes to get that card back, unless you're using like an expedited service or whatnot, which right now PSA is pretty much cooking, but even at best case, you're probably looking at a month and a half to get your cards back. So by that point, you're not going to look at that like higher end ROI on a lot of those cards unless you're getting them back in a 10. Which with the way the market's been, like a lot of times ultra modern 9 is very close to raw by the time the set is not like super hot anymore. So that's something to be mindful of. Like that's why a lot of times, like even if you look at my eBay store, like you'll see graded cards in there, but probably 90% of the cards in there are raw, just because by the time I rip it and would have sent it in, it's not going to be super hot anymore unless it's like a banger and I get like a really good grade on it. So
well, and that exactly what I mean, in reality now, base, and even let's say, like high number base, like all of a sudden some comes out, to $4.99, or to $3.99. You're really better off, if you can, sell it when you get it. Like you pull it, wow, you enjoy it, you make your little video on it, you make your short on it. And then what you do is you pop it in a sleeve, you get it on eBay, you take your pictures, and you sell it. Because to your point,
what's up, Dave?
The next one, hey, how you doing, sir? How's everything going? You're at work? Hope work is not very difficult for you right now.
Mhm.
But you know what I'm saying? I think that's what it is, what what you're looking at. That's why I like when people say, "Oh, you know, should I hold this or should I not?" and everything. And my question to them is it a PC card?
Mhm.
Because if it's not a PC, then take the money and run. If you're able to open up, if you're able to find a box of basketball cards, let's say you find the next Donruss Optic, right? And you're able to find it for $35 and you rip it open and there's a card out there, that whatever rookie XYZ, and you can turn around and sell that for $35 or $40 and have that pay for the box, and you get to keep the rest, keep your PC ones, and then sell some of the other ones. Do it, man. Go right ahead and do it.
Nice.
The grading game seems like the way to go. It takes a lot of money for the average Joe or Judy to dive in. My brother just sells raw for the quick flip. Yeah. I mean, to me, I look at grading for two things. I look at it as, number one, if you're going to grade a card, in my opinion, that card has to sell for a good chunk of change. It doesn't pay, in my opinion, to get a card graded that you're going to be able to sell for 30 or $40.
Yeah,
It,
absolutely.
it, it doesn't make sense. Now, if you're going to be able to sell for 100 and a quarter or more, then you really should take some serious look into it. But you're better off going ahead and and doing it from that standpoint. The other thing, to me, you know, maybe a grade, or not necessarily grade, but you, in case you protect a card that is your favorite card and everything, right? I
Mhm.
sent a Fred Lynn card that I got autographed at the National to be graded. Not necessarily to be graded because I cared what the grade was, but so that it would be in a slab and it would be protected. That's why I did it. Now people
Mhm.
go, well, geez, why the hell did you spend that money? You just could have used a one touch. A one touch is not the same. A one touch, you know what I'm saying? A one touch,
Yeah.
I wanted more protection for that card than a one touch would give me. So that's why I went with, grading and everything.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Excuse me, a little quiet at work. That's good. Grading just to protect my collection. Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
that too. Like I was just gonna say, like most of the time, unless it's a more expensive card and you're grading to flip, it doesn't really make sense anymore to do it. But
Yeah.
I send in base LeBrons, in almost every PSA order just because it's a different LeBron I like having in my collection. I like to
Right.
collect slabbed LeBrons. So sometimes, like I'm kind of trying to draw the line. Like, okay, is the LeBron graded? Does it at least, like, the grading fee, like, will it at least be less than what it would cost me to go on eBay and buy this LeBron in, like, say, a PSA 9? And if the answer is yes, then it's like, cool, I can send that in with my next batch. Or if it's just a LeBron I like, who cares? I'm going to send it in anyway. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I had like a baseball rookie card of LeBron that was in horrible shape, but it was like I wanted to have that slabbed in my PC. So it was like I sent it in anyway. But for the most part, the being able to send in like every superstar player you get or every rookie card now for a quick flip is like pretty much dead, unfortunately. So a lot of that stuff, it's better just to go ahead and list raw and be in and out of.
But to your point, that's what happened with Ja and Zion and some of the football players
Mhm.
in what, 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. And
People,
and that's not a bad idea. I
yeah,
have a lot of my PC in different grading company slabs as well, Molly. For example, my Big Ben Tops rookie. It's one of my favorite Big Bens. It's no longer my favorite since I now have a RPA of him, but like it's in GMA, which is not like a prestigious grading company, but you know what I mean? It's still a Big Ben rookie card in gem mint 10 condition. If I ever decide I want to sell it, I can always crack that and send it to PSA. So
mhm.
yeah, absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? I have cards in all different types of slabs, all the major grading companies and then some not so major ones. I actually got a gift one time from Marty. It was a Tiger Woods card in a snaggle tooth grading slab. which is like
Snaggletooth Grading.
literally Snaggletooth Grading was the name of this company. They're no longer in business,
Oh no!
surprisingly. I don't know how they didn't survive.
Wait,
But
they're extinct.
I literally have a Tiger Woods card in my PC and a Snaggletooth Grading slab.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to each their own.
No, but you're right. When it comes to collecting and investing, that's what you have to look at. If you're looking, that's why I always say, oh,
Yeah,
hold on here.
Snaggletooth.
Yeah. Snaggletooth Grading. Yep. So let's see. Submitted a J Rod Marte 4-5 dual. Wow. Damn, that's nice. I hope you get a great grade on that one. That is very cool. But that must be scary because you send them. I mean, do you send them into? Do you have a grading company in your country, or are you sending them here to the States? Because that would be scary to take a card that could be very valuable and know that you have to send it to another country.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially with customs in some parts of the world.
I
know some Asian countries you have to literally bribe sometimes to get your package sent all the way through.
Wow,
it's wild.
Yeah, but I think that's where it boils down to the standpoint of is you really have to look at a card, and I think where it pays for you that if you don't have an eye for grading, okay, you really should you should either use a group subber or go to your local, computer store. Oh my goodness, card shop. And have them look at it and say, hey, I'm thinking about getting this graded. What do you think? Because the truth is to your point, Anthony, right now, especially with the ultra modern stuff, if you're not getting a 10, it doesn't pay to send it in if it's not for your collection. I'm talking about if you're looking to turn around and resell that card, you're better off taking, even if they say a 9 is $50 but raw is $40, you're better off selling it for the 40 and getting money now rather than the time it takes to get it graded and go through that whole process and then get it back. Because to like we said earlier, yeah, that card's a $40 card raw right now. Guy goes out, basketball player, he goes up for a shot, he comes down, bang, lands on his leg wrong, blows out his knee. That 40 card might not be $40 anymore.
Yep.
So I think that's the way you have to look at grading. You have to look at, investing, selling. Investing, in my opinion, is different than selling. I was to send the States to Anthony, but new company here in Oz is doing some good things. So use them for this one. Oh, wow. That's very cool. That is very cool, man.
Just some guy. What's up, my man?
What up,
see you, brother?
How are you? Thanks for popping in. But I think that's what I think that's where people go ahead and kind of hurt themselves from a standpoint of is that everybody, there are a lot of people out there who think they can tell, and go, oh my gosh, this is a 10. And then there are other people who unfortunately think, pull it out of a pack. Oh my gosh, I put it in a sleeve. I put it in a top loader. I send it in. How the hell did I get an 8? That card is packed fresh. It doesn't make a difference. Have you seen quality control from the card companies? It's not there right now.
That was a good question Molly had. She was asking Dave what cards are popular in Australia. I know he sent us some really unique Australian rugby cards that were awesome. So I would imagine rugby's big over there. Soccer's probably big. I would imagine NBA, since it's global, is probably big. But Dave, feel free to put it in the chat.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting about what sports are popular in Oz.
And if you're ever off on like a Wednesday, man, I would love to like actually talk to you about like sports cards abroad sometime. That'd be awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
I have a couple other things lined up for us, as the show progresses with a couple other people that are, I have a couple guys that are from Canada that I'm friends with, a guy from the UK, and a few guys from Asia as well that are really big into the card scene that, we might be able to collaborate with.
Yeah. But like I said, when you're looking at the difference, again, investing, like when you think about this, in my way, the way I look at it is there's three parts of the hobby. There's the collecting part, there's the investing part, and then there's the selling part. And in my opinion, the selling part is the one where you get it and you go. You get it and you go. Investing is that prospecting. It is that holding on for the longer period of time. It's that taking that chance and seeing what happens, But the truth of the matter is look, and we won't be the first channel to go ahead and say it. We certainly won't be the last channel to say it. Your best long-term investment is going to be the best of the best in their sports. Those are the ones that are, that have established themselves as superstars. And those are the ones where it's going to cost you more to get in. But that is where what you do is you get the little bit of lower stuff and you sell all those other ones, but you keep stacking that money on top of each other. And then you go and you buy the Brady, you buy the LeBron, and maybe you can't get the LeBron, upper deck rookie, but you can get, the LeBron, second year, which is just, which could be just as, just as fulfilling, from that standpoint, but I think that's what you have to look at. Vintage is, like we said earlier, vintage is vintage. It's not going to go anywhere. There won't be, multiples of those cards, being found anywhere. And you're right. Vintage is always going to be the best because they've established. I mean, you look at Mickey Mantle and what it's freaking nuts. Like a Mickey Mantle graded as a 3, still goes for big dollars.
Yeah. It really does.
No way. Wow. At a pawn shop. Huh.
That's awesome.
That's really good.
That's huge.
It's
a monster find.
Yeah.
How much did you pay for it, if you don't mind me asking? Like, was it something where they were like, hey, this is a Tom Brady rookie card, or was it like in a box of cards that they didn't really know what they had? I would imagine they probably knew, like, hey, this is a Tom Brady rookie. It was probably placed in a place of honor. But, man, I've heard of people just finding cards like that just in boxes of commons, because you figure, like, imagine, like, you're Marty, right? Like, Marty is one of them guys. He's ripping through packs in bulk. He's taking cards, and he's done. He's throwing them into boxes that, the 2 rows, the 3 rows, whatever kind of boxes like that. And then they go into a shelf, and then like months, years later, when he doesn't want to deal with them, he gives them to a guy like me. You know what I mean? And then there might be like, oh, well, say like Brock Purdy, for example, this year. You know what I mean? Before Brock Purdy got to play, I guarantee you there were a ton of Brock Purdy's Marty was giving away, just not even caring about, because it wasn't like one of the top cards in that box. So I could totally see like a Tom Brady just kind of slipping in there. But then again, it's been a long time, and
well,
I was so many times it would be sorted through.
Yeah, I was watching. I forgot who I was watching, but I was because wasn't the Dallas card show this past weekend, I think.
Yeah, it was.
So there were some people doing recaps. I don't know. It was. I don't know if it was Clark Collector 2 or Mojo or somebody else who was doing a recap and everything. And they were sitting at a dollar box and everything, and some guy was rifling through. And this is on day 2. Day 2. Rifling through the dollar box, reaches in, he goes, "Oh, check this out. Brock Purdy rookie card sitting in a dollar box."
Nice.
And
you'll definitely find that in a bunch of different places, just because people don't always check. Dom, I do still have some of the rugby cards. When Dave sent them to the office, he did say to share them with the rest of the guys. So we split them up amongst us. But yeah, I do have a couple of them. None that are like handy. They're all in like buried in my boxes over on my shelf. But
Dom is a rugby player.
nice. My cousin actually played like semi-professional rugby here in Pittsburgh for a team called the Harlequins. So that's about my claim to rugby fame is just through my cousin.
I hear you. But it's just like, I mean, the investing is it's coach, referee, and player.
Nice.
So do you like cheat for your own team? Like, do you call penalties against them when you're refereeing? No, just kidding, Tommy. No, but I mean, you have to, look at it logically, I think, from that standpoint of how you're going about and what you're considering doing. And I think a lot of things, it's that that fear of missing out, that I don't want to sell this card today because tomorrow it may be $100.
Yeah.
And so you don't. And it was $40, and you think tomorrow it's going to be $100, and the guy gets hurt, and now your card is $3.85.
Yeah.
So if it's not a PC, go ahead and start. Consider getting rid of it and everything.
Just some guy was asking, are you still involved in the grading thing? At the moment, I'm not. I haven't really done any content on it because I was asked not to by the company who bought TGT. So officially what happened was TGT was purchased by a company called Arena Club. They're partnered with Derek Jeter. You might have heard of them, but they acquired TGT. Since then, I've sold like my part of the company to them. So I'm no longer part of Arena Club, but yeah, right now I'm not involved in grading. I have had some conversations with some other grading companies, but I haven't really made a concrete decision. After I left Arena Club, I was offered a job over at PSA, but it was just I have a lot of plans for like travel and different things going on this year that I really didn't want to be tied down to any one thing, especially being that I wouldn't own any equity there. Which I mean, obviously, like it'd be cool as heck to work at PSA, but I'm really big on like entrepreneurship and kind of making my own way in life and betting on myself, because ultimately, like I've seen people like, and there's nothing against like somebody who's like a lifelong 9-to-5er. I just don't have it in me to like go to work, live. Well, I mean, corporate structures are fine and great. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not the type of person who literally wants to break my back year after year and then somebody else gets rich off of it. I'm the type of person who wants to break my back, work hard, and then I want to get rich off of it. So, yeah. So essentially that's kind of like the main reason I didn't go with a PSA job, because, it would be like essentially the same amount of work, but they get rich off of it still, like, which is awesome. Like, good for them. Like, but I want to be the one making the money. What's up, Pete? Good to see you, brother.
Pete, what's happening, man? No, but I mean, it's interesting.
I like blazing my own path, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so much more motivated whenever like I know that it benefits me, if that makes sense. And that's not even like trying to be a selfish person, but like, for example, like when I'm listing on eBay, I know that every single card I list is potential money in my pocket. So it motivates me to list more. You know what I mean? It's the same with like working for any company that you're like a part owner of. You know what I mean? If you know that eventually if this company does well, it's going to benefit you big time, you're going to work a little bit harder than if you're like a minimum wage employee flipping burgers. You know what I mean? Like, right. You're not going to really care about the quality of a burger, unless you're really passionate about culinary stuff and you're just like the happiest Burger King worker that has ever lived. You got Jesus in your heart and you're just singing a song all the live long day, but most people aren't like that in their 9-to-5 job. Most people are like, man, this sucks. I'd rather be at home. I'd rather be doing this. I'd rather be doing that. So when most people have that attitude that, hey, I'd rather be doing something else somewhere else, you're not always going to get the best that they have to offer. So for me, it's the same way. Like I'm admittedly the same way. Unless like I'm 100% passionate about something, I'm not going to put my whole heart and soul into it. And for me, like I've always been more passionate about something that like I have skin in. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, just some guy.
Awesome,
I mean, Anthony is a group submitter, so I mean, he could always take a look and help you out and get you a better price on grading than if you were to send it in on your own. That's something to
Molly,
consider.
I fully understand. Like, you know, like, and there's nothing against that. Like my mom, like she's one of the hardest working people I've ever seen. She's been working at the same place for, God, like 40 some years, like longer than I've been alive. And, you know, like she's capped. Like she's at the point in her position, she can't even get another raise. And she's like probably like one of the best employees that they have. Like she's gotten like national awards for like her service and stuff like that. And like she's been like capped. You know, they're like, okay, you've been here for X number of years. We're not giving you any more, even though like they might be like, okay, you got 15 cents for doing a good job this year. You know what I mean? After 40 years, that 15 cents starts to add up. And then they can just start hiring people right out of college for literally like a third of what you're making after 40 plus years in the same position. You know what I mean? And that if you're in a corporate structure where people look more at numbers than they do at human beings, it's going to start looking really attractive saying, hey, Mary over here is making X. We can hire 3 people out of college and fill them in these 3 different positions we need for what she gets paid. You know, and the unfortunate thing is in corporate America, that's the mentality of most businesses. You know what I mean? They would rather just get 3 new people that may not put the same, you know, effort, skill, love, passion into their position rather than pay the person that's like labored all of these years. Like, for example, look at the NFL. You know what I mean? You can think of guys that have like literally killed themselves for franchises. And then when it comes time, like for, you know, them to, you know, be taken care of at the end of their career, franchises like, I don't want nothing to do with you. I'm not going to re-up your contract for X, Y, or Z.
Yep.
You know, you're damaged goods. It's like, well, yeah, but I damaged my goods for the betterment of your franchise, but nobody cares. You know what I mean? That's the cold hard truth is when it comes down to it, you got to look out for number one because fortunately, you know, no one else is going to.
Can I get an amen from the chat? Preach, my brother, preach.
Yeah.
No, but I, you know, and it's funny that you brought it back to the NFL because as you were talking, that's what I was thinking of. The same type of thing is, you know, you look at the NFL is a perfect one, right? You know, you look at the rookie quarterback and those types of things. You know what I'm saying? Where they say, hey, you know what? We'll get rid of the older guy. We'll draft the young guy because for 4 years or 5 years, we don't got to pay him. We can invest in these other people. And then if we want to pay him, okay. If not, we'll move on to the next young quarterback and be in the exact same situation.
Yeah. I mean, just like you said with Fields, you know what I mean? If they are to, you know, land another big quarterback, like, does that hit the reset button if they believe in Bryce Young enough?
Yeah.
It very well could. I mean, honestly, Bryce Young may be an upgrade over Fields.
Right. I'm saying, yeah, you once you do your evaluation, you can't say no. I mean, you can't go, well, hey, we got a quarterback. Yeah, but that guy over there potentially could be better.
Yeah.
You know, because the thing is you look at it, I think if teams are look, you know, bring it back to yeah, that's Thor. He's a German short-haired pointer, and that's Charlotte. She's a border collie mix. But when you look at, and you know, you bring it back to Lamar Jackson from an investment standpoint, you know, Baltimore has to look and see. And I'm wondering, everybody talks about the new NFL with this new type of quarterback. Are you going to have the same, you know, are people going to, you know, is Chicago going to start to look at Fields that exact same way? You know, will Philadelphia, you know, look at Hurts that way? and stuff like that. It definitely goes back to the investment. It's always about investment. I mean, you think about it, whatever it is it's the investment, that long-term investment, short-term investment, and you got to do what's right, for you and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're, and if you believe that, and what we talked about, modern versus vintage, so, I mean, versus is probably not, the wrong thing to put it, but the truth is, and one of the things that I've always said is, I mean, you collect what you want to collect, and if you like vintage better, then stick with vintage.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just, like I said, I'm just wondering what happens in today's day and age, right? You think about the boom, the kind of boom that we had. I think about it, like, we haven't really even talked about like guys like Kobe
Yeah.
and some of those guys that were in between the LeBrons and the Michaels, right? And and some of these other quarterbacks, the Peyton Mannings, the Drew Breeses, that were, kind of in between the, the Bradys and the Montanas and the Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw, I mean, talk about a guy whose cards get no respect.
I know.
I mean, there's another guy, 4-0 in Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
MVP, I think, in at least one, if not two.
Yeah, I think he was twice. Yeah.
Yeah. And not saying that his rookie cards are cheap.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm saying you can go find them for $10, but they should definitely be higher than what they are when you look at what the guy did.
Yeah.
The problem that you have is if people start thinking of the value from a number standpoint, yeah, guys like Brady, Montana, some of those, those other, John Elway, those quarterbacks of those times, if you go back a little bit further, the Roger Staubachs, the Fran Tarkingtons, yeah, they're going to get dwarfed. Their numbers are going to get dwarfed by what happens in NFL because the way the NFL is changing.
Yeah.
Those numbers, I mean, they're going to be, you're going to have a guy that is considered a middle of the road quarterback today is probably going to pass for more yards than some of the guys that we look at as some of the greats of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Which is crazy, but that's just the way it is because the way the game, is changing.
Yeah.
So that's why I wonder when you look at it, because of what some of these guys are going to be able to do in the future with their numbers, how is that going to affect their value?
Yeah.
Because it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day as I was thinking about, talking about, stuff tonight. You take the three major sports, football, basketball, and baseball. In reality, and it's crazy to say this, but baseball is the one sport where it is getting harder to get to all-time numbers versus basketball and football.
Yeah, that does make sense, especially like post-steroid era and everybody getting drug tested and XYZ.
Like guys coming in throwing 100 miles an hour. You have a batter that plays the entire game. He could face 4 different pitchers.
Yeah.
And seeing all different kinds of stuff and everything. Whereas, football, they add an extra game. The rules changed offensively. Next thing you know, guys are throwing for 5,000-6,000 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you look at Patrick Mahomes. Dude, yeah, not saying, you think about it. In 3 or 4 more years, he could be at what? 30,000 passing yards, 35,000 passing yards.
Yep.
In such a short period of time. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the wild thing is like Mahomes, it might be close to like a lock for Hall of Fame already, in my opinion. Like, I think he's probably done close to enough. Like he's already done basically, like minus like some stats and longevity, like and probably wins. Like he's probably done close to what like a Ben Roethlisberger or like an Eli Manning has done for their franchise, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, and he's still super young. Like, that's the crazy part. I mean, like, he hasn't even gotten to the point where he's in his prime, in my opinion. So like,
No.
To see what he can do is going to be crazy. But again, he's going to run into the same issue that I was talking about with Josh Allen. He has to face Josh Allen. He has to face Joe Burrow. He has to face more elite competition from the quarterback position in the AFC to even get to that Super Bowl. So again, that's going to be something that he runs into.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you're saying, you think about some crazy ass stuff. Joe Flacco is number 19 overall in the NFL in passing yards.
Isn't that crazy?
In the history of the game. Joe Flacco.
Wow.
You know, but I think, you know, from a standpoint of, you know, the whole thing, you know, the way things working, like I said, just the way, you know, the way the game is changing and stuff. You know, I mean, you know, Patrick Mahomes right now is right around like I don't know where this number actually is, but Patrick Mahomes from 2017 to 2022 is at 24,000 yards already.
Keep in mind, he didn't even play his first year.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Well, he's at 24,000 career yards.
Wow. Put that into perspective. What's Tom Brady at?
Tommy boy is at 89,000.
All right. So, like, what was that? Like a third of Tom Brady's yards, or a quarter, something like no, less than a quarter, or like
about
a third.
30%.
It's not bad. Tom Brady's played like most of Patrick Mahomes' life.
Tom Brady's 22 years in the game.
Yeah. And Mahomes is probably what, like 27, 28?
So, yeah. Mahomes is 27 years old.
Yeah. So like literally he was 5 years old when Tom Brady got drafted. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. And he's already got a third of his passing yards.
Yeah. You know, and that's what, you know, that's what's so crazy. Ryan Tannehill's at 33,000. Ryan Tannehill. What the hell is he doing having that many freaking, you know, it just shows to show you, but that's what I mean when you think about the games. Troy Aikman. Ryan Tannehill has more yards than Troy Aikman.
That's crazy. But I mean, then again, Troy Aikman had a shorter career due to his concussions, but when you come down to it, like Troy Aikman and Ryan Tannehill shouldn't even be in the same like stratosphere.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's why I say that's to me, that is what makes it, you know, so crazy when you look at these things, you know, from that standpoint is what's going to happen? How is the vintage market going to hold up when these guys of today start blowing by these all-time greats?
Mm-hmm. I mean, even look at some like Brett Favre cards or, you know, Aikman, for example, like their cards aren't super expensive. You know what I mean? Like in comparison, granted, they are mass produced. So you're kind of going to run into some of the same Griffey problem because they're in that exact era.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, they're all-time great players, still not like super valuable as far as price goes. But in comparison to like, say, a Tannehill and a Aikman, I would say like, say, a base rookie of Tannehill versus a base rookie of Aikman. I'd say Aikman's probably the better bet, but I would imagine there's probably some Tannehill rookies right now that are more costly than even Aikman's, like whether it's like an autograph or a patch card or something like that could even be a little more valuable today, like because of the influx in the modern. But again, like, is that card going to hold up long term versus a Troy Aikman, even though he has more passing yards? I don't think so, because Aikman has multiple Super Bowls, whereas Tannehill might just have stats, and a lot of those stats came on the Miami Dolphins in some very pitiful seasons. Now he's been doing great since he's been with the Titans, but I mean, I just don't see the guy as like a Hall of Fame type talent. You know what I mean? I see him kind of as being like a like a game. I don't want to say a game manager, but like a little
No.
bit like a step above a game manager, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
A
Like
step above-
he's not Trent Dilfer. Like he's better
Right.
than Trent Dilfer,
Uh-huh.
but you know what I mean. Like he's not somebody I would build a franchise around.
No. But I'm saying, like, you know, it's just like I said, it's just when you look at certain things and you look at certain people, you know, and you're right, you know, like Jim Kelly only played 10 years in the NFL. But, you know, Jim Kelly did
What's up, Adam?
have that USFL time frame.
Yeah.
You know, so he did have, you know, he did have that. You know, so from that standpoint, okay. You know, I mean, like Trevor Lawrence has over 7,700 yards already in his career. He's only played 2 years.
Yeah.
He's only played 2 years, and he has 7,700 yards.
That's wild.
Yeah. You know, now here's the thing. Will Mahomes, will Allen, will Lawrence, will Burrow, will Herbert, will they play 15, 18 years? So Lawrence right now, so he's in his second year, and it's 2022. So he came out in what? So this was the second year. So
Yeah,
2021
his rookie.
was his first year.
Yeah.
Will Trevor Lawrence be playing football in 2036?
I don't know. That's a really good question, because if you look back to 2012, if you would have said, hey, in 2022, will Andrew Luck and RG3 be playing football? Most people would have been like, yeah, they're going to be playing.
Yeah.
Neither one of them. Well, actually, RG3 might be a backup now, but
nope, he's on ESPN.
Okay. So here's my point. So
yeah.
I honestly can't say any one of those quarterbacks will still be in the NFL 15 years from now. I would say, as far as that class goes, Trevor Lawrence probably has as good a bet as any of them do. You know what I mean? Like, I think he showed, you know, in this playoff win that he at least has the stick with itness to be a winner.
Yeah.
Granted, they got a lot of help from the Chargers.
Yep. Hello, Adam.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like that's a tough question. Like, I can't even tell you if Kenny Pickett will be playing 15 years from now, and he plays for my Steelers.
Right.
Actually, when faced with the opportunity at, I went to a card show. There'll be a video coming out about it here in like a week or two. But when faced with the opportunity to get a Kenny Pickett RPA, I grabbed a Big Ben RPA. I went with the sure thing.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, am I going to spend $200+ on Kenny Pickett, who, like we're saying, might not even be in the NFL 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Or I can go with Big Ben, who, outside of Terry Bradshaw, is the greatest Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback that there's ever been.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I went with the safe choice. I went with the Big Ben, because regardless of what happens, I'm always going to like Ben. And if I decide to sell it, like, he's now has a YouTube channel and a podcast that, you know, like, if, you know, he even gets a fraction of what happened for Pat McAfee, good Lord, Pat McAfee cards are decently expensive, and he was a punter.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know. I wanted to get a couple, you know, and I was only able to get one. It was only one that I was able to get at a halfway decent price. Some of the other ones, I was like, holy crap, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, I'm not saying Ben's going to be like Pat McAfee, but he's got like close to 50,000 subscribers on YouTube and on Instagram, which, you know, for being a famous athlete's probably not much, but, you know, he actually has a pretty entertaining like concept. Like, he'll bring on former players and like actually like talk about some like behind the scenes type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty cool. Like, I could see that being something that will kind of take off, you know, kind of like Pat McAfee had a really good personality. Ben also has a good personality, but I don't think it's going to be the same kind of multiplier in cards, but I'm saying that there's a chance, you know what I mean?
There's more of a chance that he gets more of a following that his cards go up in value, also because he's a, you know, Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Absolutely.
from that standpoint,
Yeah.
but I think, and I think going back to the thing is, when you look at Brady and you look at him, being considered the GOAT, is there an opportunity for anybody playing the game today to be considered the GOAT? Like, what do they have to do? Because if we look at
A
Tom
lot.
Brady, what?
A lot. They're gonna have to win like probably 8 Super Bowls.
Right. And do we really think that can happen?
Like, look at Patrick Mahomes. He's already won, I think, what, 2 of them?
One. Been a
Just
two,
for
won one.
okay, gotcha. So he's gonna need to win like at least 6 more to even tie Brady.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to put it in that perspective, now he'll probably, if he stays healthy, he'll probably end up with more yardage and more stats, being that the game's moving in that direction with more games, and it's being a little bit more friendly towards the quarterback as far as them not being allowed to get hit as hard and stuff like that. Not only that, but then you figure the coverage roles and stuff have gotten to be a lot more favorable towards the
Mm-hmm.
quarterback and the receiver as well. So that right there is going to make it even easier for guys like Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow, whoever, to get more yardage than like a Dan Marino, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, like those type of
Yeah.
players. So again, it's going to be a little bit skewed for that reason, just like it was when the NFL went from 12 games, or what was it, 14 games or whatever, to
12 to
16.
14, then 14 to
Yeah.
16, now 16
Yeah.
to 17. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And honestly, it makes sense why they're doing it, because they're making like millions of dollars per game. So, and with them having so few games, every game is like that much more important.
Well,
So,
didn't Amazon pay a few billion to get Thursday night?
I believe so.
Yeah. So
It's wild.
it just goes to show you,
Mhm.
But again, that's what I'm you're wondering is that, so then in reality, if we don't really think anybody can move up to that status, how is it that his cards will not be the most valuable?
It's going to be the same as, like, for example, like if you ask a lot of kids, like right now, my nephew, Santino, God love his heart for this. You ask him who the best basketball player of all time is, you know what he's going to tell you?
LeBron?
LeBron James.
Yeah.
It's because literally LeBron James is to him what Michael Jordan was to me growing up. Because
Right.
as a kid, I saw Michael Jordan like a freaking superhuman, out there
Mhm.
slam dunking with Bugs Bunny. LeBron is literally that this generation.
Yep.
So, like, he never saw Michael Jordan. The only Michael Jordan he knows is if I throw on old Space Jam. Like, he's not going to sit there and watch a Last Dance documentary, or, any YouTube clips that are all fuzzy, staticky highlight clips from the 80s and early 90s. You know what I mean? Like, to him, it is LeBron. You know what I mean? Like, now LeBron is my favorite player. He's who I collect, but I'll fully admit Michael Jordan is the GOAT. You know what I mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
that dude was he was a killer. You know what I mean? Like, just a straight killer. But again, like, it's going to be generational. You know what I mean? Like, to a little kid like my cousin my nephew, who is, nephews, I should say, who are anywhere from, say, 12 years of age all the way down to 4 years of age. Like,
Mhm.
all they know is LeBron James. You know what I
Right.
mean? He has been the Michael Jordan of this generation.
Mhm.
So, whereas, like, if you ask people my generation, they're going to say Michael Jordan all day long. If you ask people before me, they might say it's Bill Russell or Kareem. You know what I mean? Honestly, it really matters what generation you came up in.
I mean, even though I've been in both of those generations. I've been in the
Yeah.
Michael Jordan generation, and I've
Mhm.
been in the LeBron generation. Um, I personally still think, when they changed the rules for things you could do on a basketball court,
Mhm.
you need to get more GOAT type status, and that's Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, they
Mhm.
made rule changes to the game. The free throw changed because of Wilt Chamberlain, because Wilt Chamberlain would stand at the free throw line and he's like, oh, okay. And he would literally jump to the basket and lay it in. And they're like, no, 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 you can't do that. And they changed the rule. They made, they made the the lane a little wider. Why? Because Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, so to me, I think there's a guy right there who in my humble opinion, even though I only watch videos of him, to me, when
Yeah.
they change rules because of you,
Oh yeah.
and I think, look, the hardest thing is the generation stuff with the way they make changes to everything.
Oh yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
we were talking about with the football changes, with the you can't, you put a pinky on, the quarterback. If it's on him if you put a hand on him, if it's on him for too long, there goes the flag for roughing the passer. So it has changed so much. You look at what Michael went through and the way defenses were on him.
Mm-hmm.
They're not allowed to play defense that way in today's NBA.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
him, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, although Magic Johnson, I mean, there's debates about him, but you think about like those three guys. Can you imagine what Larry Bird? I mean, Larry Bird's career was cut short because of his back, and you think about what he did:
Yeah.
back to back to back MVPs
Yeah. That guy
in the
was
NBA.
insane.
I mean,
It's
you
insane.
talk about unbelievable basketball player. You imagine a guy like that today who could do basically whatever the hell he wants to do.
Yeah.
And you think about the sharpshooting that he had. There's that story that one of the times with the 3-point contest, he came walking in and he had his warm-up jacket on, and he looked at everybody and he goes, "Hey, have you guys talking about who's going to finish second?" And he kept his warm-up jacket on and went out and won in a warm-up jacket. I mean, I just think, so it's amazing how the things have changed. That's why I wonder, when you look at the GOAT stuff, everything, you look at the value of the cards. That's what blows my mind sometimes when I hear about a Justin Herbert card going for, $1 million.
Are you ready for this? This
Well,
this is going to put a lot into perspective, is because I've heard a lot in regards to like just like you're talking about like the game and the way it was played and like would modern players hold up and stuff. I just looked at some height and weights. So old school basketball players, like you think of like a big dominating force that you don't want to go up against. Bill Russell,
mhm.
6'10", 225 pounds.
Oh my goodness gracious.
LeBron James, 6'9", 249 pounds. LeBron is actually bigger than, well, he's an inch shorter, but like actually, if you look at it all around, he's
Mhm.
actually a bigger athlete than Bill Russell when you
Yeah.
talk about the weight, the diameter, like the way he cares for his body. So I feel like even if he was like in like the Jordan era, like I feel like LeBron would hold up against the bad boy Pistons just because of the way he takes care of himself. Now, I agree with Adam. He also is LaFlop, but show me one basketball player that isn't like about the flop game. If they can get the calls, they're going to do it. You know what I mean? Like I've seen like the most hardcore basketball player just like flop. Like look at Draymond Green. You know what I mean? Like he's a guy that I would look at as like a devastating defender type player, but he's going to flop just as much as anybody else is to get a call. You know,
Man, some of those guys look like they got hit by someone swinging a baseball bat.
physically though, like look,
It's like,
I'm
and like, the guy doesn't even touch him, and he freaking jumps in the air and falls back, and you're like, it's a devastating thing.
yeah.
Yeah, Molly, there's been a whole bunch of rule changes that has made the games very different. That's why I was saying that's what makes baseball so interesting, in that rules that they put in the game actually make it harder.
Yeah.
The way the game has changed has become it's harder for guys to put up numbers. Now, I don't know if it's harder because they don't want to learn how to get around some of the things and how to be, better, but it's not just the way I think it's just, they're not looked at the same way.
Adam makes a good point. People in the 90s didn't flop. A good reason for that is the rule changes. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And here's the reason that I'm not going to dog players for flopping. Like they're essentially like real life versions of Eddie Guerrero. If you knew you could throw a chair at somebody and just fall down and get a win, wouldn't you do it? That's essentially what they're doing. Like they're literally, okay, I'm going to take some free throws. you know, just because this guy's running up on me. Like
Yeah,
that's essentially what they're doing. Like if you
yeah.
really look at it like in, you know, like black and white. So like yeah, it's like not as like strong as like the Bill Russell type or like, you know, like a bad boy piston standing in there or whatever, but it's effective. You know what I mean? Like that's why guys do it, and the rules allow for it. You know what I mean? So it's like anything. Like the system is broken. You know, people are openly exploiting it as we see. Like even the commentators are like, "Oh yeah, that guy flopped." You know, everybody knows he flopped, but hey, it's within the rules, so let's give the guy a penalty. You know, that is true, Dom. Rodman did do a little bit of flopping himself.
Yeah. The worm,
Yeah, they don't call him the worm for nothing.
apropos. But I think it's going to be interesting. Like I said, from a standpoint, to bring it back, I really do believe it's you know, I don't know, I don't know how much, I will see it, how much I will pay attention because I don't know if 15 years if I will still be involved in the hobby as as I am today and stuff like that. But I look at you look at value of other things, and then look. Let's throw the other monkey wrench in here. Is we don't know what the hell Fanatics is going to do over the next few years when they own everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. Things are either going to get a lot better or a lot worse because
Yeah.
it's going to essentially be a jeopardy. They're going to like basically run the whole shebang because they're going to have all the licensing. So,
And now they're trying to get into sports betting.
yeah, I've seen that.
You know,
I just hope they're not going to bite off too much than they can chew. From what I understand, with the way they did the licensing, they basically paid like over 10x what Panini was even offering. So they're not really looking to make a whole lot off of the actual like cost of the cards. It's more or less just being able to dominate the space for them, which like to me, it's like I get it. Like if you're able to like dominate an entire category XYZ, go for it. But I mean, how much effort are you going to be putting into making sure the cards quality controls done right? Because clearly Panini doesn't give a crap. You know what I mean? How much like effort are you going to put into making sure the card business is booming when we're in a down market and you might say, hey, look, I can make so much more on sports betting or on jerseys or on XYZ. Like, are the cards going to, begin to suffer over time, if the market doesn't stay red hot like it's been?
well, by the same token, though, is that, or do you all of a sudden now say, hey, you know, the only way we can make some of our investment back is if we have cards available in more places, and now all of a sudden, maybe they don't have, maybe they, in National League baseball parks, maybe they offer, team sets, in each park rather than necessarily, because they don't want, they probably, the the stadium people might be pissed off if, a bunch of people are buying, boxes and then, everybody in the bleachers is just sitting there and ripping cards and throwing the wrappers all around the place, and everything, and stuff like that. I don't know if they would care or not care about it, but
It's
like I said, I just don't know.
it's definitely something ballparks are looking into. Like I
Yeah.
can speak from experience whenever we were running TGT before the Arena Club buyout, we actually had a deal on the table with a major league team that was interested in doing like a set of like slabbed cards of like the all-stars that are on their team that
Mm.
would be like in their team shop, you know what I mean, with like a custom like label of like the city and like stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like there are teams that are already kind of starting to look into like, hey, what are some different ways I can monetize the fact that, this is the team shop? Because, if people are out there spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to get cards of these players, shouldn't they buy it from us? You know what I mean? Like if they're looking for all of this memorabilia, like I don't know if you guys have noticed, a lot of ballparks are carrying signed memorabilia and stuff like that now.
Mhm.
And the reason is because if people are out there spending this type of money on these type of things, why shouldn't the people that actually have direct access to the players, why shouldn't they wet their beak a little bit?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see Fanatics eventually have something like big in every single ballpark. You know
Yeah.
what I
I
mean?
mean,
I'd be
I
shocked if
think
they don't. I mean, they already have like team sets are something that's common across the board. You
Yep.
can go to almost any stadium in America, regardless of sport, find those team sets. But again, why would you limit it to just team sets? You know what I mean? Like
Oh no,
for
I don't think
me,
you should.
if you were walking through a Mets game right there and you saw like they had a really nice slab DeGrom with like New York City behind it, just looking like immaculate, like wouldn't you get that?
Mhm.
I would. You know what I mean?
Oh,
If it
yeah,
was a
no.
pirate thing, you know what I mean? And, you know, it was like Brian Hayes or like O'Neill Cruz or whatever, I would totally buy that as a fan and as a collector. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I totally see the market moving more in that direction, you
Yeah.
know, where they're going to try to be more direct to consumer, you know, like obviously we have the retail, we have the hobby shop and stuff like that. I wouldn't even put it past them to have some kind of subscription service at some point. You know what I mean? Like, hey, like for example, like you've seen like the Brothers in Cards reveals or something like that on YouTube where
Mhm.
you know every month you'll get like X number of packs and it's just random packs. Like I could see them doing that with like, you know, maybe they'll throw in 1 or 2 packs of something good, but then they'll throw in like some of their underperforming stuff. Like, hey, here's all of our Chronicles or our Prism draft picks. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that type of stuff. What's up, Clay? Good to see you,
Look
brother.
who the hell it is. What's happening, Clay? It has been a minute. Hope life is going well where you are, sir. You know, we're doing good. We're doing good.
I'm actually back in Pittsburgh now, Clay. At least part time. I'm doing a lot of traveling this year, so part of my time I'm in Pittsburgh. Like right now, I'm in Pittsburgh, but I will be back in California. I think next time is April. So a little bit every month, I'll be in different parts of the country. Got a lot on the docket this year. But as I'm allowed to share more of it, I'll definitely be releasing it here on this show. So make sure you guys subscribe to Michael over here at Huddle and or Thrifting Goomba, wherever
Yeah.
you're watching. No, Clay, I actually sold my equity in the company. Arena Club now owns the company. They're the company that is backed with Derek Jeter.
Yep.
So I am not in the grading space as of right now. I talked a little bit about it earlier in the show. If you want to go back later on and check it out.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, that's right. Alan was just out there at the show, at the Dallas Card Show.
Yeah, Alan had his picture in his picture on the Instagram.
Hey, thanks, Clay. Appreciate that, brother.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. Like I said, I really don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Fanatics brings.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I think it's going to be cool. I mean, to see Topps Chrome football players again.
Oh, I can't wait for that. And basketball. That'll
You
be
know,
wonderful.
I mean, it is, but then I think, well, but you know, I already got a Chrome basketball football card. You know what I mean? Like, like how,
Yeah.
like I don't. To me, it's going to be what can they bring different, and I
I
don't
wish that they
know.
would limit the sets more. You know what
Of
I mean?
course,
Like,
of
or
course.
make the big ones mean more. Like, for example, look at WWE. Now, any of the wrestling fans are going to know where I'm going with this, but you know that WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and
The
what's the other
Rumble.
one? The Rumble are, you know, they're like the big events. You know what I mean? Now, does WWE have pay-per-views out the wazoo now, especially with multiple brands? Absolutely. But you know those big ones, they're going to bring it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it should be that way for the card companies. You know what I mean? Like they're going to continue to milk us on every little release they can because we're going to continue to buy it. Like when it comes down to it, but you know, whenever they put out like the Prism or the Topps Chrome or the whatever, they need to just bring their A game. You know what I mean? Like a lot of this quality control crap that we've been running into, they really need to make sure they tighten that up.
Oh yeah.
You know, like if anything, I think a lot of these other sets, they should just be like a Chronicles release. You know what I mean? Like there's really no reason to have 20 plus releases per sport. You know what I mean? That's insane.
But I think that's where Crunchy gums is yeah. I don't know about that. The value of the cards is going to be difficult for them to do that. But I think that's why I think when you look at the rookie card and you look at the guys that we talked about, in basketball, the Michaels, the LeBrons, maybe not LeBrons, but the Kobes, Larry Bird, the Magic Johnson. When you look at, football, we talk Montana, Rice, those types of players, players that were at the top of their game in those years. There was only one.
Yeah.
Like I said, here's 9 Devonta Williams, and this is all the low end crap. And I think that's why I wonder what's going to happen when you think about it from that standpoint of is the Joe Burrow one of one? Oh, wait, you can't just say one of one, because the truth is there really isn't only one of one, which you would think that's what that should be. There might be 15 one of ones.
Yeah.
Because there's one of one in every single brand, right? So what I think that's why I wonder if so it's good to me. You hear about 10 years from now, right? Golly, 2032, 2033. Holy smokes. You hear you heard Joe Burrow's playing, he's not playing, but you hear about Joe Burrow, you're like, man, I want to get a Joe Burrow rookie card. Well, crap. There's what? I don't know. 700 you could choose from, or whatever the 200 you could choose, whatever the crazy number is.
Yeah.
It makes it easier for you to go ahead and get one. So where's the value in that rookie card versus Mickey Mantle's rookie card versus Hank Aaron versus Willie Mays versus Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem? You know what I'm saying? So that's the interesting part of the hobby that I can't wait to see what happens, from that standpoint, because you're starting to see it now as some of these other players, like LeBron getting ready to go, Brady getting ready to go. Yeah, there were not as many official rookie cards of them back when they started, but there was still more than one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you, I don't think you can get I don't think you can get a Joe Montana RPA rookie card.
It'd be cool if you could. But yeah, absolutely.
Can you imagine? It would be flipping unbelievable if you could, but you could get a bunch of them of even LeBron James.
I think a lot of the early 2000s cards are kind of slept on in my opinion, because I feel like the mass production of cards really started to wind down towards like the end of the 90s, like because basically the hobby started to fade out a little bit. Like, not saying that it died, but compared to like where the pandemic was to where we are, that's kind of where we were in the early 2000s. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like, where we were kind of getting to the point where like you're just printing all kinds of crap and throwing it at us. A lot of this stuff is garbage. You know what I mean? Like, look at like the 5 sport cards or the classics. Like, you might have a Shaquille O'Neal rookie, but you're looking at like $1. You know what I mean? It's really, like, if you're a collector, great. Like, you have a Shaq rookie, but if you're looking to make money, you have nothing substantial there. And Shaq's literally probably the best player you can get in that set. So when you have that happening in mass succession, that's kind of what's happening in today's market. You know what I mean? And when it comes down to it, once you see the fact that a Shaq rookie in this lesser set is not even worth anything today, then what is an Anthony Edwards rookie going to be worth, in Chronicles, one day, or a LaMelo Ball or whoever?
Or even Prism or Select Base.
Or even, let's take it another step further. If we're talking about unlicensed stuff, let's look at like Wild Card. You know what I mean? Like, where is an Anthony Edwards Wild Card going to be worth? Like, I had numbered Najee Harris's from Wild Card, and I'm like, I'm just going to list them and sell them, because like, even if Najee Harris does become the type of player I think he's capable of, it's a wild card. You know what I mean? Like look at Leaf. Leaf puts out an amazing product, but the hobby still craps on Leaf. You know what I mean? Like, and Wild Card, like, in my opinion, like, nothing against them or anything, but they can't hold Leaf's jockstrap.
Right.
They
I
really
listed
can.
2 Trevor Lawrence wild cards, earlier in the week. I did a couple of Justin Herbert Leaf draft cards.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Leaf draft, like what is that going to be worth one day? You know what I mean? Now, if you look at Patrick Mahomes, like even if you have a score rookie card of him, that's still worth something right now.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously, like it's going to be worth something. Like if you have a LeBron James, like, for example, one of the cards I'm looking for is it's a rookie preview card from high school. Which it's like the chintziest looking card. It looks almost like an SI for kids, like because it's like perforated around the sides. But I'm looking for one of those in like a decent condition right now, which it's a trash card. It's like probably equivalent to like those Leaf cards, but
Yep.
again, I collect LeBron, so like there's probably always going to be somebody out there that's going to want those cards if the player does succeed and become something good. But again, you need to realize that you're probably not going to be setting yourself up for huge ROI, especially if it's, a unlicensed or a lesser set. You know what I mean? That's something that I fell into early on, was investing in like the wrong sets. It's like, okay, the ones that people are really gonna want, are gonna be the short prints, not the base of, cool, I can get a Hoops Ja Morant. It's like, cool, you know what that's worth now? It's like not
Right.
very expensive, even in a 10.
Well,
So
remember with classics and everything was you can get numbered cards. Yeah.
yeah.
Numbered 1 to 56,000.
I do remember that.
And I
Yeah.
think weren't they just all numbered 1 of 56,000 or something like that? Like
I believe so, yeah. So
the number never changed if I remember correctly.
yeah.
I got card 1. No, I got card 1. No, I got card 1.
We all have card 1. They didn't change the printing plate.
Yeah, I remember that. I think I have that Shaq card though, as a matter of fact, somewhere in my way too many card pile.
It's insane though, like because I literally have that entire set, not only for basketball but for football, because the 93 year, I think, was it 93? Jerome Bettis's rookie year. I'm pretty sure it was 93, like that exact time frame. There was a Shaq in a basketball set and a Bettis in a football set. So I specifically have both of those because at the time Shaq was my favorite basketball player and Bettis was my favorite football player.
And they had the hockey mixed in there too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's going to be, as the hobby keeps going, the vintage versus modern is never going to go away. I think it's going to be
There it is right
interesting.
here.
What?
The set that I was just telling you about.
Oh.
The classic.
Oh, yeah.
The Bettis rookie on top.
There you go.
It literally just happened to be sitting here on my desk.
It's going to be interesting as what people are going to look at as the cutoff for vintage versus modern, because if you're going strictly by a year perspective, like a card has to be X number of years old to be considered, vintage. I don't think that's going to work as we go forward. Because I don't think 25, 30 years in now, gosh, when I'm done and gone, 40 years from now, I don't know if people are going to look at a 2021, Trevor Lawrence card as a vintage card. I think they're still going to look back to the 70s, the 60s, the 50s. So it's going to be interesting to see how that lineage, works. It almost seems like they're going to have they're going to add another category or two.
Yeah. Now, Molly makes a good point.
Yeah.
Now, like as far as like reselling goes, like typically, what is it? 20 years.
20 years
vintage?
considered vintage.
Now, when it comes to sports cards, I think most like real enthusiasts consider like true vintage being like what 50s and beyond, or 60s and like older.
Probably 60s and older.
Yeah, which is most people would consider, like especially coming from like being an eBay seller perspective, like you would technically put vintage in after 20 years, which Need more specific names like comic books have, unless you already do. Not sure. Yeah, so the way they do the sports cards is each one typically has like a manufacturer like Panini, Upper Deck, Tops that makes the card, but then it also has like a set name. So, for example, this one's made by Panini, but it's like Don Ross Optic is the actual set. And then from there, there'd be like a parallel or whatever as well to kind of identify it. So they do kind of have that where, like, for example, you'd be looking at like, this is Action Comics #1, first appearance of, Superman or whatever with comics. Cards do kind of have it. It's just a little bit more difficult to find. Easiest way to find it, I kind of call it like the card's address, is if you grab any modern card and flip it over to the back, typically at the bottom, you're going to see a year, manufacturer, and a set name. So if you can find those things, partner it with whatever the card number is and the player name or character name or whatever it is, you should be able to identify just about any card. So that's typically how I identify a card, kind of like you would a comic. Whereas the comics, go ahead.
But I think what she's also asking is that will there be a more of a distinction if we consider, like, in the baseball era, in baseball,
yeah,
people think vintage, they're not thinking of they're not thinking Ken Griffey Jr. They're not.
Yeah.
When I think vintage baseball, I'm thinking Hank Aaron, Roberto Clemente, White, then you're getting Mickey Mantle, and then forget the Babe Ruth, forget the T2, forget, what I'm saying? You're looking about, that type of stuff. I'm just wondering is as you go along, is there an era specific of the way they may have to do things? Because like I said,
that's a good way of putting it, because especially with vintage technically being 20 years when it comes to resellables and items, because I mean look at clothing, you know what I mean? If you have a shirt 20 plus years, it's a vintage t-shirt, you know what I mean? So just like Molly is saying here with the comic books, I see where you're going here with the golden age, silver age, that type of thing. There really should be. It's like if you have a card that's early 1900s, it's X, Y, or Z. If you have a card that is 50s and 60s, it's XYZ. If it's 70s and 80s, it's XYZ. If it's 90s, it's
a 1990 Fleer Spud Webb. How many people would think this is vintage?
A lot of people. Like I can't tell you how many people that have that know that I sell cards on eBay say, hey, I have a bunch of like old vintage cards if you want to look through them. And then I get to their place to look at cards, and it's literally like just piles and piles of like junk wax from the 80s and the 90s. Because like you said, most people have the understanding that after 20 years something becomes vintage. Whereas like sports card people technically consider that kind of like a junk wax era, and they're kind of looking for stuff that's older or newer.
Yeah, a lot of sports card people won't think a Spud Webb from 1990 is a vintage card. He was like 5'4", I think.
Does it say on his card?
5'7". Oh my gosh! Look, I cut the guy off 3 inches. But okay, so check this out. In 1990, when this card came out, you remember we were talking about sizes of athletes?
Yeah.
5'7", 135 pounds.
Wow. I feel like I was bigger than that in second grade.
Oh man.
Yeah.
5'7".
Could you imagine him next to LeBron? He'd look like one of LeBron's kids.
Oh heck yeah. Heck yeah. So, but it's interesting. I mean, it's something that I'm that I'm looking forward to to seeing how it goes, and stuff like that, because I think it's an interesting topic. That's interesting of the mindset. But the one thing I will tell you is that yeah, he was little. It's still, and at the end of the day, it's all we can talk about. But at the end of the day, collect what you want to collect,
Mhm.
and just be happy with your collection. And you know, I don't know. I mean, it's funny. I don't really collect. I don't collect any high end players. I mean, probably the biggest, now a couple of the guys that I collect today, like Pete Alonso and some of those other guys, maybe they will become. But when you look at the older guys that I go ahead and collect and everything,
Mhm.
I mean, Cal Ripken is probably the only guy who is a superstar, when it comes to baseball. And I think about all the things he did.
Yeah.
And I stopped looking for his rookie card because I knew at one time, I couldn't afford it and everything. I probably need to go back and start looking because I'm not sure where it's at right now, but I don't know if I'll ever have, that super duper, expensive card in my collection because I just don't. I mean, I'd have to, probably sell a whole bunch of them to go ahead and be able to get that kind of dollar figure. Like I
Yeah.
don't have a card like, oh my gosh, I have to have this card. I mean, like there are cards that I like and I go, oh man, I want that card, but that's not like, but if if I was like, if I saw a card and I wanted it and I couldn't get it, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm not going to sleep now until I find that card again. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Or every morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to scour eBay looking for, this card until I find it again. I mean, I just haven't really, been that way where you talk about when you listen to other people who collect, I mean, it's like, they have their cards that they have to have, like the guys go to nationals with their list.
Yeah.
And nationals
That,
are only
that
going to be a success if I crossed every card, off of this list.
I'm
You know.
starting to get that way with LeBron now that I have so many of his cards. So I kind of get where they're coming from in that regard.
Well, yeah,
I'm
of
like,
course.
I'm an E away from completing 2 separate Spellbound sets at the moment.
There you go.
So I'm like actively, like I'm on eBay literally every day searching LeBron Spellbound, hoping an E drops. The only E that's in one set's listed at like $1,200 or something like that. It's like an out of 10 gold. I'm like,
Yikes.
yeah, I want a base one. Just somebody list a base one, please, for the love of God. So the show that we're going to be meeting at in Atlanta, I'm going to be hunting pretty heavy for those LeBrons, trying to complete those Spellbound sets.
Yeah.
But I get what you mean though about like collecting what you like and collecting a lot of lower end guys. Because outside of LeBron's really like the big main guy that I collect. Like other than that, like the next most expensive guy I collect might be like Ben Roethlisberger. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like it's guys that I really like that are meaningful to me, like Cordell
Right.
Stewart or Jerome Bettis or Hines Ward. Guys like that are not necessarily going to be like high dollar guys, but like they're people that I grew up watching that were very meaningful to me.
Yep. I do. My son does. This channel was started with he and I, and he's moved on to bigger and better things, and I've just stayed a degenerate. No, but I think from a standpoint is that I think, but the other thing, Anthony, I think where you have the different mindsets of coming into the hobby is I never really came in as someone who thought of investment, of buying, sitting on something for 5 years and watching the value go up and then sell it.
Yeah.
Right? Because to me, when you have the card in your hand and you're watching it go up, year after year, month after month, whatever it may be, it becomes a golden handcuff. And what happens is you fear getting rid of it because, oh my gosh, it's gonna go up in value. What happens if it goes up in value tenfold next year? Right. And I think that's, so that's one of the reasons why I never really looked at, but then again, I never was, when I started collecting, that's not what it was about. Like you really didn't, don't get me wrong. It was when I started in the mid 70s, late 80s, the investment part was there, but it wasn't there heavily. You know what I'm saying? Like that didn't dominate the market.
Yeah.
You know.
Molly says her daughter likes stickers, not interested in cards, not yet anyway. If she comes across any like rare stickers or anything, you might want to consider maybe putting them in like a top loader, which is something like, a case kind of like this, because PSA does grade stickers, and some stickers can be very valuable. Especially if it's like something that's like very popular in like pop culture, you could definitely have some value on your hands via stickers.
Oh, heck yeah. Some of those stickers could go for money.
Now, if it's like Dollar Tree stickers, you're probably safe in letting her stick them wherever. But if it's like something like valuable, or not valuable, but like
No, but you know
more
what?
popular or collectible, you might be able to, stick it away and have some value eventually.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, Molly, if you have I mean, I'm not. I don't think. I'm assuming you don't live, like on a mountain in the middle of Montana, But if you have, a Walmart or a Target that's very close by to you, go to where they sell their sports cards and buy a binder that has the sleeves in it, and you could
That's a
automatically
great idea.
start just to make a book and start putting putting the stickers in the individual sleeves and just get that, the mindset going of, collecting, taking care of them. And if all of a sudden it does turn out, that there's some high-end ones or something and so forth, they're already starting to be protected and everything. But at least it gets, into that habit of, treating them the right way also. So that God forbid you do find one and she gets it. She's like, oh, look, I'm going to put this on the mirror in the bathroom. No, it goes in your binder. It goes in your book. So.
Trying to just get an example of like what like a vintage sticker might go for. Let me see if I can find any sold ones. Because what people are asking doesn't always give like a true accurate assessment of like what the market is.
It would be a great mother-daughter project. It would be great. And you can go, and the binders aren't that expensive.
Like, look right here. There's here, let me just share my screen. Make it easier. Present. Share. Like, look at these little Pokemon stickers right here. Somebody, I mean, there was a best offer taken, but like $50 for a little lot of stickers. Like, and that's a sold comp. Like, look, here's a little boxing guy from Punch Out, $33 for a sticker. Like, for one sticker, that's not terrible. Obviously, you're probably not going to want to send something in that's going to get a 7, but, like here's another little Pokemon sticker for $55. A little Super Mario sticker here for $50. So, just little stickers like this, like a little Punch Out scratch off game. Like, some of this stuff has value. Like, here's a Star Wars one, for example, and that's a Tusken Raider. Imagine if that was like Luke Skywalker or like somebody more like desirable from Star Wars. So regardless of what she's into, like imagine it's like Monster High or X, Y, or Z, or something that people get nostalgic for in the future. Like could have value if it's in good enough condition, and even if it's not, could probably sell it raw and still get something decent.
Well, wasn't Garbage Pail stickers?
Yeah, I think there's a Garbage Pail sticker here somewhere, actually. Yeah, right here, look.
Yeah.
This is a PSA 3 for $70. Somebody literally paid $70 for a 3. Now, granted, I'm sure that this is probably like a rare one, but imagine if you had this sticker like in an 8, what that would probably be. Like what kind of multiplier that would be. Like even like these little 86 stickers. Like obviously we all know that those are super sought after because of Jordan's rookie year, but like Panini puts out stickers of players, you know what I mean? So like that's stuff that could gain value over the years.
Well, that was one of the big for World Cup. That was one of the big things that they were. Remember, they had the sticker books.
Yeah.
So if she's into soccer and stuff, they had the sticker books you can do. And I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, Panini has NFL stickers, current NFL stickers. They have current NBA stickers. They did the soccer stickers. So yeah, Topps does baseball stickers that you can get. I'm sure, Upper Deck may do hockey or something along those lines. But yeah, yep. Well, you know what? I want to go ahead and start to wind down here. 2 hours, 15 minutes. I can't believe it. It doesn't. It feels like we just I don't know. Just man. The
It's
chat,
fun
you
when
guys
we
are
do.
awesome. Molly, thank you so much for
Yeah,
sticking around. I know we
appreciate
gave
you
you a little
being
bit
here.
of a hard time in the beginning, but thank you so much. Appreciate you sticking it out and hanging out with us. I hope we gave you great information. Hope we gave you some ideas and stuff like that. This is the kind of stuff that we're going to continue to do as we continue to grow. So, Anthony, what do you got going on or anything, man, as we wind down here?
Got a lot going on, actually. I'm be doing a lot of traveling back and forth. I did release a video just maybe like a couple hours ago where Chef Marte, my best bud, got a 1 of 1 card. So if anyone wants to see a banger pulled, make sure you go check out that video. We'll have a lot of stuff coming out in the next couple of weeks from my travels. I went to this place in San Diego that had literally a Jurassic World exhibit where it's like life-size animatronic dinosaurs that you can like interact with. It's like the coolest thing. So like I'll be putting out a video there probably next week. I have some Disneyland videos that we'll probably put out as well. Like, whereas again, if you're just into sports cards or just into eBay, like I do a little bit more than just that on my channel. I like to also share my personal life and the things I'm passionate about. So you'll get a little bit of that too, since for the holidays I went out with the girlfriend and we had some fun going to Disneyland and Universal and stuff like that. And I did a little bit of filming. So looking forward to sharing that stuff with you guys as well. I did do a eBay video earlier today, so that'll probably come out this upcoming week as well. So stay tuned. Lots of stuff coming out soon.
Yeah. And at the end of next week, Anthony and I are going to be actually physically together.
Absolutely.
Down here in Atlanta. So we have to figure out.
What is Wednesday the 25th? Am I right in assuming that?
I think that's the 26th.
Okay.
No, Wednesday is the 25th.
So I'll actually be traveling to Atlanta probably close to the time of the show. So we might have to be flexible with like the time it starts. So just be mindful of that, guys. I'll put a post out on Instagram if we do have to make it any later. I'm just hoping to be like Ubered and ready by 10 p.m. So I'll definitely be in Atlanta. I think I land at like 8 or 8:30. So I'll be in Atlanta if need be. I can do the show from the airport. It's not a huge ordeal.
I will be in Chicago.
Or no, I'll be in Alabama, actually. I won't be in. I'm going to Alabama first. And
yeah.
So we'll both be traveling. So either way.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
I should be fine. I just don't know how long of an Uber ride it's going to take me to get where I'm going from the airport, essentially, is what I'm getting at. So
you're flying into Atlanta?
No, I'm flying into Alabama, actually.
You're flying into Birmingham?
Yeah, flying to Birmingham. I'm going to be there for 2 days. Then I'll be coming to Atlanta for a day, maybe 2, and then heading back to Alabama for a couple days.
Are you actually in Birmingham?
Yes.
So, I mean, the airport is right there.
Yeah. Yeah,
so, I mean,
I've never been, so I don't know what to expect. I'm imagining like it's going to be Country Bumpkin-esque, but I don't know.
Nah, Birmingham's not that bad. My daughter went to college there for 6 years, and then she got a job. She left for a year, went back, and then she lives in Tuscaloosa.
Nice.
So they're not. Then I mean, when you get outside of Birmingham, you do get a little more country.
Yeah, sure.
So we got that going on. We are lining up guests to go ahead and come on the show and do that type of stuff and bring more stuff. We're trying to talk to more people in the investing and selling side, because it's not really talked about a lot. But there are people that they do well selling cards, and they're not selling $1,000 cards. A lot of them aren't even selling $100 cards, and they make a living out of it. So There's plenty of opportunity. We want to bring that to you guys so you can go ahead and see and we all learn together. The pie is big enough for all of us to get a piece of.
Absolutely.
And with that, thank you so much. Appreciate each and every one of you hanging out with us tonight, commenting. Guest of the chat of the night, participant Molly, you're awesome. Thank you very much. And we
Appreciate
will
you, Molly.
see all you guys later.
See you guys.